Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Movie Talk. And in this, we're also going to be doing a live commentary as well. I may as well check in. Hopefully, people come into the this movie discussion in a little while, so I can get some live questions. But I had some email questions that had come in, and I figured I might as well uh, address them. And busy Monday, very exciting. And what I like on this channel is I can address all sorts of things that other hosts don't seem to want to address. You know, sometimes they say I don't want to take questions on a certain subject, or that's not their expertise. Go ahead and send me any question, and I'll do my best to answer it. Um, that being said, let's go ahead and start the Q&A discussion. Um, and movie talk. We'll also go over different movie news as well. There we go. Kind of posted that up a little bit different. Uh, so it's quite a lot to go over in movie news. A man that I met many, many years ago, I believe it was 1997, Kevin Tsujihara, head of Warner Brothers, was forced to step down over allegations, and I guess proven allegations, that he cast a woman born in 1991, so a young woman. Kevin Tsujihara is an older man. Uh, yeah, she's almost 30, but still definitely a younger woman. Kevin Tsujihara cast her, or worked for her, or made it that she was cast. Like I said, he was directly involved, but leveraged her casting. Let's just say in two films, one called Ocean's 8, you may have heard of, and then another one called How to Be Single, that you probably, I mean, you may have heard of it, you may not have heard of it. How to Be Single, oh gosh, besides Rebel Wilson, I can't name anyone who was in it. 2014 or 15, 16, something like that. A relative non-performer at the box office, sort of like this new one, Isn't It Romantic? Isn't It Romantic, I think, is doing even less. But yeah, How to Be Single. Yeah, not too sure who she played in it or anything like that. Ocean's 8. Again, not too sure who she played in it. I believe that she was on a WB show. Not too sure which. They all kind of run together as it goes. So she's career tainted because she's not necessarily a Me Too victim in this. She was basically involved in, soliciting for this activity to happen. So supposedly Brett Ratner was involved in the, finagling with this woman. But Sujihara was, in a marriage, and she was in a marriage, and they were carrying on this illicit relationship. So you may hear the score in the background for a very underrated thriller that they're going to be doing on our live stream commentary today. That it was part of our fan vote, but no one really voted for it. Only 14 people. So I figured I might as well represent those 14 people's wishes and discuss this movie that has basically fallen by the wayside. I think the title is confusing. I used to, when I hear the title, think, oh, I don't want to watch a movie about beating, a wife beating, a wife beater, a, a woman being abused scenario. I don't want that. Uh, but what ends up happening is this story is a lot different than that and has nothing to do with spousal abuse. It's just called Domestic Disturbance, and rather confusing title. You almost think of domestic terrorism when you hear it, when you learn that so it's confusing title. It has nothing to do with either. It has to do with a scenario you don't often see too much. John Travolta playing a boat maker. John Travolta, boat maker. They seem like two separate identities or things completely altogether. But hey, we got to make movies, don't we? Harold Becker, director of Sea of Love, Malice, Mercury Rising, The Onion Field, several other films that I want to see after that. One called The Black Pearl or The Black Marble, and also very underrated sports movie, Vision Quest, starring Matthew Modine and Linda Fiorentino, featuring the song Crazy for You by Madonna. This is a very good director. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, why we're talking about Domestic Disturbance today. It, I guess you would say, a box office failure or underperformer in the year it came out. I believe it was October 2001, October 2000. I guess I should know either way, but either way, people weren't in a movie-going time for thrillers in that era unless they were more of a sexual nature, unfaithful of a sexual nature. A great thriller, box office hit. Domestic Disturbance, also made by Paramount, I believe. I mean, I know that Domestic Disturbance is Paramount. Unfaithful, I believe, is Paramount too. If it's not, I'll try to correct myself later. I wish I could just check right now, but anyway, that's all good. It's a thriller without a lot of sexiness to it. It's an 80s and 90s thriller that happened to get made in the 2000s. So I had this really cool dream today. I was just thinking, back in the day I met Jack Nicholson. So in the dream I was like hanging out with him again. And I just hope that he's doing good. I really do. He's not exactly a guy that can just dial on my phone or anything like that. It was never like that. But I did get to know him a little bit. And the dude's just so cool. So anyway, anytime you can just think of that situation. And I used to have this, vision of interviewing these different celebrities. And it just so happens that now I've met and interacted with so many of them through the bounty of my life, that, sometimes I look back and be like, oh, wow, I would be cool to interview peak John Travolta, at second peak John Travolta, the mid-90s one. And then also Charles Bronson, mid-peak, post-tail end peak, Murphy's Law era, the era that I'm very fond of. Anyway, that's a little bit of a slight digression. Now, this is going to be a major digression. I figure this is just I'm killing time until we get to the Domestic Disturbance commentary. I'm looking forward to you guys going through torrents, seeing if you can find the DVD for it, seeing how you can attain this copy of this movie. Maybe it's on HBO sometime today. Maybe it's on Showtime later. Go ahead and keep looking for it, because I'll get to the Domestic Disturbance commentary in just a little bit. And believe me, it's going to be a good commentary. I do enjoy that movie quite a lot. I got quite a lot to say about that movie itself. One movie, which was an answer to last night's Q&A question, still is blowing my mind, is which movie would you not like to do a commentary for, that you would hate having to watch doing the commentary for? And the answer to me that popped in was 2018 Halloween. Now, the reason that I'm such a maligner of that movie, I went into it on a whole video and I ended up not being able to get posted the other day. So I got to make myself pretty clear about this, and probably will label it in the video so that people can see this properly. Now, I give a lot of respect to Pizzowell, a moderator and host of his own channel, as well as the Sausage Factory. He very strongly liked it to begin with, and then when he saw it the next time, once on Blu-ray, he strongly was like apathetic and then like more negative towards it. Not sure his current stance of it as of March 19th, 2019, but safe to be said, the movie did some sort of magic in the theaters where it kind of, bullied people into submission in some way. Now, I did so many good aspects when I rant on this the other day. I think I'm able to talk about the Halloween franchise with some degree of freedom, because I'm a huge fan of the Friday the 13th movies. It's a bitch to even have to denigrate or rank them at times. I do have kind of default rankings I do on those, but when I think on them more, it's very hard to shake them up and around. And rest in peace to John Carl Buechler, really devastating news today. We're losing that man today. It's the director of Part 7 of Friday the 13th. But regarding the Halloween franchises, this is basically what they are at this point. You got him in the 2018 Halloween. He's all right, fine. You want to retcon everything? You want to redact things, pretend like Halloween 2 through Resurrection didn't exist? Fine. That's fine. Totally fine. Right? Figure out a way to make it that he's more than a spree killer then. Because if you get rid of movies 2 through Resurrection, you're making Michael Myers into a joke. He's just some dude that killed a couple people. Basically, killed 7 people in a night. He's like Mark Richard Hilton, the postal worker from frickin' Dana Point, California, that went nuts and shot a bunch of people in 1993. For real. Like, Michael Myers in movie 2 kills a group of people. In 3, we all know the story on that one. 4, he kills a group of people. 5, he kills a group of people. 6, he kills a group of people. 7, he kills a group of people. 8, Resurrection, he kills a group of people. If someone's gonna be killing a group of people in all them movies, you're gonna act like them movies didn't never happen, and that your movie is the next movie, setting up his legacy where he's now basically, I don't know, 13 or 12 at the time of the killings, and 40 years later, and anywhere between 52 and 56. I just don't find that to be an appealing serial killer age, slasher age. I don't even know who was really stropping up and putting that mask on too much in this film, and I guess they did a decent job. I'm a huge fan of the part of the movie where the journalists are bashed in the restroom, that seedy bathroom. I think that that's a really effective scene. I don't like a single other frame or scene in that movie. You're basically taking Halloween H2O and redressing it. You're chopping off Josh Hartnett's genitalia and replacing it with the lady from Marmaduke, Judy Greer. And I don't really want to see the lady from Marmaduke anywhere near a Halloween movie. Harping on Laurie Strode because she's even more than a hermit and all that, and she is an H2O. H2O, she's a functioning hermit. She runs a principal. She runs a school. She's a principal running some school out in the sticks. Now, in real life, that's a house that's right near where they filmed The Bachelor up in the Los Feliz, Silver Lake Hills. But that being said, in the movie, it's definitely not. It's an isolated private school that she runs. So yeah, she's kind of a hermit, but yet she's a principal. She's a drinker, sure. And you got Alan Arkin in her life. You got better actors in it's just absurd. You got way better actors in Halloween H2O. Josh Hartnett, who I'll take any day over Marmaduke's freaking owner, Judy Greer. And then I love Marmaduke, but Marmaduke was a very strange adaptation of Marmaduke. And that's basically all I know that broad from. I know she pops up in a bunch of rom-coms. So obviously Josh Hartnett made his fair share of rom-coms, but he's been in some other more serious roles, and this is one of his more serious roles, and he does a pretty effective job in it. If anyone is going to knock Hartnett's performance in this movie, I think they're kind of tripping. You have Michelle Williams, you got Adam Han-Bird from Little Man Tate. I mean, acting-wise, this movie, H2O, and this ain't trying to turn it into a H2O, H4O rant, 2018 versus, H2O. But, I mean, we're not going to have to go on a rant doing that. It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. It speaks for itself. I mean, all right, everyone. I had some quick technical difficulties. I don't want to have to do this rant again, but I may have to. But anyway, we're going to continue the rant as it is. So for them to be saying, it's these 2 questions that I got yesterday. It was awesome. It was a question, what do I want for the next Halloween movie? And it's basically to disconnect from the logic of the last Halloween movie and have that Halloween movie be basically Plan B. But even though it's out in theaters, it's still just shouldn't exist. It should just be like enough of that movie. We just pretend that it didn't happen, and we plug in what reality we want. I mean, we bring back Danielle Harris as her role from 4 and 5. I mean, for God's sakes, man, I don't see what's so complicated about the series. Um, and to take away uh, 8 or 9 movies worth of Carnage, what is that? Two through, you know, a lot of movies of Carnage where he just is making carnage on screen. To take it back to do basically reboot kills like what he did. So he's just re-imitating what he does in Halloween 1. I don't think so, guys. I don't think so. So I'd be more than happy to talk to Cole or talk to Raiho or talk to um, Jay the Stingray or talk to anyone else that's neutral or positive about the movie. Uh, anyone that's neutral or positive about the movie, I'd like to have a conversation with, an open dialogue with. Anyone that's negative with, I'm sure you can help reinforce the conversation or whatever. But I'm not about trying to change people's minds about the movie, but I'm about trying to set the series forward in the next possibility of momentum. You know, I mean, here's what I want most for, and I gotta re-answer these questions. I forgot that I didn't answer these 2 questions. They're just brilliant. It was which movies would you least want to do a commentary for, and they're basically some of them Transformers movies, but definitely Halloween 2018. You gotta be like, damn, this movie sucks. You know, I would just start talking about all the other Halloween movies and how much better they are, like sequence by sequence. I'd like to buy a steak for the guy who directed Halloween 5 and get him back on board. God bless him. Hopefully he's still living. I think Halloween 5 is an underrated masterpiece. I really do. Just shows where my head's at sometimes. But yeah, that's exactly how I feel about that film. So yeah, the question that I had where the guy was like, and you can refer back, hopefully, oh man, I'll post your name in the comments on either this video or a future video. But I got a great question saying, what do you most want for the next incarnation of the Halloween movie? And I'll leave it there. Basically, is that I don't want the next incarnation. I don't want anything less than it taking place in Haddonfield, and then the final sixth or final third of the movie, they have to somehow go to the Silver Shamrock plant, and that's where the finale is, where Michael Myers is maybe holed up or chases them down to the Silver Shamrock plant, all the way in Cali. And if you could figure out a way to get him cross country to H2O, to that private school or whatever, then why not there? Seriously, you gotta start incorporating Halloween 3 and stuff. I mean, honestly, you guys, just rebooted all the kills from Halloween proper and Halloween all the other movies, and didn't do anything original in that last film except a couple flourishes here or there. I'm telling you, if someone likes Halloween 2018, I guess it's on them. I mean, I'm no one to speak. I'm a huge fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween. I've never seen Halloween 2 of his yet. Kind of, I guess you would say, like, kind of freaked out to even finish watching Halloween 1 by him. I've gotten maybe 80% into it. What I've seen is it's hard to go back from. So that being said, I'm never gonna, want to force that narrative down people's throat that they have to now incorporate parts of Rob Zombie's movies into the Halloween lore going forward, because those are, basically separate spheres, and I accept that. But there's all sorts of fun movies in the world. There's Halloween 3, which is a fun movie, and then you got a movie like Halloween, Rob Zombie. It's not. I mean, it's fun because it's challenging to watch. But it's a brutal movie, and it's a very brutal movie, and its effects are done in a very effective fashion. And I'll leave it at that. I know a lot of people don't like that film, and I'm probably sure that a lot of people don't like Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie as well. I've seen a lot less discussion about that movie, so I'm, gonna go into that movie with open eyes as I did for the other one. I mean, honestly, it took me a long time to even watch it. I was so prepared not to like it. So once did finally watch it, I told myself, just watch it and don't start judging what you're seeing or anything like that. And I think I had seen it, in parts in the past, and had been blown away in the past, and just wanted to be like, whoa, that didn't happen, I guess. And once I actually did see it, I can't lie about the experience and say I didn't like it just because everyone don't like it. But I can be truthful about the experience about 2018 Halloween and say that it's literally a very bad film. I think that her performance as Laurie Strode in Halloween H2O, not only does the character make more sense, but it was just a stronger performance. I mean, you could see that she wasn't really acting in H2O, where in H4O, or whatever you want to call the 98 one, or the 2018 one, it's just a character that don't make much sense. It's just a spree killer that she's fearing. And I know that, if you're killed or whatever, you're pursued and your friends are killed and you're being chased, it can have a lot of bad effects on you. But if the homie's never broken out of the hospital, and aren't you kind of willing it to happen if you're just so fearful about him coming out of the hospital? I don't know. Maybe psychically that's what they were trying to put across, is that she was so um, weirded out by him, that he may be busting out of there sometime, that she actually willed it into existence. Who knows? Who knows? No clue on that, but very glad to. And we look forward to discuss the Halloween series a lot further on this channel. We'll see who we can get on as guests and all that. I am friends with Sasha, who's in part 4, so we'll see how that works. Other people from the series I have met, obviously, and Mr. Durand, who plays he plays Michael Myers in H2O. I definitely can arrange for that to occur. I'm a huge fan of his portrayal of Michael Myers in H2O. I'm a huge fan of his portrayal of Michael Myers in H2O. So that being said, I really do appreciate those 2 Q&A questions. Another movie like Steel Magnolias would be very difficult for me to do a commentary on. It Could Happen to You, though I'm a huge fan of Nicolas Cage, not a fan of that movie. And some of those period piece type movies, such as Age of Innocence or Dangerous Liaisons, I don't feel like I'd be able to do a good commentary on them and add anything to them, unless I had all the most broken down context and knew everything I was talking about with that. Same to be said for JFK. I love that movie. Love whether it's true or whatever. I just want to know all the different theories and stuff and who everyone is. So when they start being like, oh, here's John Candy, here's Jack Lemmon, here's what they were like in real life, because I've done that, as a viewer of that movie several times, just looked up all these people as I'm watching and all that, and that's extremely fun. It makes the movie even more, interesting and all that. But without knowing all that ins and outs of it, like the back of my hand, so I don't even have to use notes, it would be a little difficult. I won't want to do a commentary for Once Upon a Time in the West anytime soon. Sometimes for that reason, or somewhat for that reason as well. There is a lot of stuff I'd like to do, so I may end up doing that one. That's one of my favorite movies, of course. But thank you. We'll move on from those questions and everything like that. So to everyone else out there, we're doing a domestic disturbance commentary. Has anyone ever seen the movie Domestic Disturbance? Do you enjoy it? Are you familiar with it at all? Do you like Vince Vaughn as an actor when he's in these kind of roles? Because this was the first one that I ever knew of. But obviously, I didn't really know much about Another Day in Paradise. Is that what that's called? Something like Return to Paradise. Sorry, Another Day in Paradise, third movie. Return to Paradise with him and Anne Heche and Joaquin Phoenix back in the day. And then also, I'm sure he was in some TV movie. He was in like After School Special back in the day. And then he was in Psycho, obviously, which is a little different. But then Domestic Disturbance is him following up Psycho with a very malevolent role with Steve Buscemi in it, in a very memorable performance. and Terry Polo, among many others. So, do a couple Q&A questions. My favorite drink, cranberry grape or cranberry black cherry, but primarily it has a grape, apple, and cherry flavor. Yeah, it's grape is the second ingredient. It's mainly grape juice and then cranberry juice, then uh, cherry juice way down there. Some apple juice thrown in, I think too. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, that's what I'm drinking. Someone was asking me that the other day. International question. Malik, who I met in Alexandria, Egypt in 2005. Dang, man. How's it been? How you doing over there? He said he just saw Bumblebee and he wanted to know my thoughts on Bumblebee and this new news regarding Transformers. Well, assalamu alaikum to you. You know, I don't talk other languages too good, but I do like to have fun and stuff. So I hope you're having fun out there in Alexandria, everybody, and be safe. All right. Well, I be really honest. I want to see Bumblebee. I work in a business where I see a lot of the ads and the materials presented for consumption, um, quite a lot for the film. And there's a big cutout of Bumblebee that was, I walked around it at work all the time, on the way to work or, in the course of doing my job. And I ended up, when they were taking it apart, I took the Bumblebee head home because I ended up thinking it looked really cute, and everyone wanted the Bumblebee thing, and I guess we couldn't end up selling it, or whatever. But Bumblebee, I didn't see in theaters right away. I saw Aquaman. I think most people probably did right out the gate. Um, what can I say about it, man? The whole time I was watching with it, I wanted to like it a little bit more than I did. I thought it was really cool, the movement of Bumblebee. I did enjoy it. It was maybe an hour and 10 or an hour and 20 into it where it was getting too transformery for me. Not only that, I just stopped caring. I liked the characters. I liked what was going on between the boy and the girl and the Transformer Bumblebee. I like that, but it was getting too much going on, so I left. So that's always been what I do. I've never been one to just want to stay at a theater just to stay at a theater to watch a movie. I just feel like I got enough out of it. I'll catch it on the flip side. I'm sure there'll be another one. I thought that I'd heard maybe the John Cena stuff's not too good in it, but I thought that it was extremely underdeveloped and underwhelming, the scenes involving the military and all that. Almost worse than some of the Transformer stuff. So it's not very much like an opinion where I can be like, oh yeah, I can judge on what happens at the end of it. I didn't care anymore. And it wasn't because the movie was bad. I'm not trying to say that. It's just because I didn't care. I'd gotten what I wanted out of the movie enough. It, basically couldn't hold my interest any longer. I don't know. So that's basically it. And then the news now that this shouldn't really be news. It's been said all along that they were going to continue the Transformers franchise and do these at the same time. So now the new Bumblebee sequel will actually, I guess, at the same time be a Transformers 6. And people are all reacting to that. We'll have to see what direction it goes. So I've been getting some very, I know some theater owners associations and things like that, and they're all really excited about the idea of Bradley Cooper being cast as Bond. So I don't know. I'm getting more and more traction on this story. So you can check this back sometime next year, after the Daniel Craig movie comes and goes or whatever. It makes probably is going to underperform, ladies and gentlemen. The last one did as well. I mean, it's hard to overperform after underperforming. So they're gonna have to go in a big box office direction. I think they're gonna go with not Richard Madden, but Bradley Cooper. Now someone say, "Oh, he's not um, young enough." Well, he's at least 7, 8 years younger than Dan Craig, and we're only talking about him being James Bond for 7 or 8 years, 3 movies. I don't know, man. Spectre left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. Bad taste. All right, let's take another question. I'm really excited for interacting with Lauren. Lauren, if you're watching out there, hope you're having a good time. Looking forward to reading some of your books and stuff, and checking out the next parts of the Sausage Factory. And that's the question that someone had asked was, how you guys all had to watch License to Drive, and you clearly didn't enjoy the movie, obviously. So, which movie would you hate to do a commentary for? That's where that question stems from. And this is from Joey out there in Laurel Canyon, stomping grounds. Always will be, always around. So Joey over there in Laurel Canyon says if all these different things about the Emoji Movie and how they're gonna make a Hello Kitty movie. Let me hit this bowl. And they're gonna make a whatever, Angry Birds sequel, a movie about basically anything, right? What movie theater candy would I like to see made into a movie? Well, I'm gonna take a pretty liberal uh, guess up of all this. Movie theater candy, I would think you're meaning more like Goobers, Raisinets, Junior Mints. And now that I mention that, I wouldn't mind seeing them all. But I think the ones that open it up for most discussion would be like Sour Patch Kids and Gummy Bears, like working together. Like you got the kids in the Sour Patch, and they need some help from the Gummy Bears, and they'll be like, "Whoa, we're very much similar. We're sour on the outside and gummy chewy on the inside, sweet." And the Gummy Bears would be like, "Fair enough, we're gummy on the inside," and it'd be really cool because I really like the old Gummy Bears cartoons. So you just take kind of the lore of that, maybe kind of make them like the Ewoks, and you make the Sour Patch Kids. I don't know, it kind of seem like aliens almost. I'm looking at them, they're right over there. So, uh, another one I'd really like to see. So, like a Sour Patch Kids movie would be sick. A Gummy Bears meets Sour Patch Kids movie would be sick. A movie all about popcorn would be pretty cool. About several kernels and like how they pop, how one pop's kind of good, one pop kind of not so good, and what movies they end up in and stuff. Because it's like if they go to a movie theater, that means that they made the big time. And if they're the popcorn that gets thrown out, then they're the popcorn that gets thrown out. So it would be about the kernels, about how they want to pop the best they can and get the most butter on themselves as much as they can, so they can go to maybe 1 or 2 movies. Because maybe some dude's just gonna go to 3 or 4 movies and have the popcorn in his thing, keep getting refills, and this one kernel is gonna be in the popcorn thing to the very last. And the ultimate goal of a popcorn kernel is to go to as many movies in a day that are fun, or just as many movies, I guess, and then be consumed. So it's the beautiful story of self-sacrifice of the popcorn, and of how all these other popcorns are trying to live towards that moment of self-sacrifice of enjoying a good day at the movies. And people will be enjoying the popcorn as they're eating, watching popcorn. So you better believe it would sell the hell out of the popcorn. I actually think that's a pretty good movie. Sounded like a pretty good movie just now. So the popcorn movie about popcorn. So that sounds like I should get to writing on that movie like right now. Um, so I might start doing that actually. The popcorn kernel movie. Yeah. Another one pops right in my head. I think you have to get a lot of permissions for this because I don't know. Do y'all know too much about the icy bears? You know, an icy, when you buy icy, there's that bear. Who makes that bear? Kind of looks like the polar bear from Coca Cola. I would love to see the icy bear movie. But then, obviously, as I just said it, people will be like, where's the Coca Cola bear? Because they're so similar. So you basically, people are going to want to see a Coca Cola polar bear movie. You know, so I guess you shoot for the stars and try to make that the goal of the movie is that the Coca-Cola polar bear movie, that's what the main subject is. And then you write to Icy in the middle of making that movie and be like, hey, listen, we want to throw you into like a 15, 20-minute part of the movie where the polar bear from your company is in with the Coke polar bear. Because obviously your polar bear is famous, but their polar bear was on a whole other level. So, yeah, man, this has been a really fun conversation about movie theater snack food. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing a movie theater snack verse movie. I mean, the goobers, you know, they're like the hardworking ones and all that. That popcorn kernel movie, man, that sounds great. Sounds totally great. Um, and thank you so much for the question out there, Joey. I really do appreciate that one. All right, this is from Grace. She was out in Las Vegas. This is Throwback Monday here. I knew Grace 2001. Wow, that's a trip, man. So her question is like a pretty good question, actually. Said that Anna de Armas was just cast as Marilyn Monroe in the next, like, you know, biopic about Marilyn Monroe, and that Judy Garland is being portrayed by Renee Zellweger in a movie this fall that they say, you know, she'll get nominated for an Oscar, maybe win. It would be a great crowning achievement for her career that kind of even fell apart the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. And the question is very simple. Um, who, what woman that hasn't got a biopic yet? Who would you like to see? That lady's name, Billie Holiday, immediately pops to mind. I think I mentioned that on another video. You know what she went through with the people trying to crack down her, you know, drug usage and you know her career and how they used to have to make these black performers get some kind of performer's card to even perform at different venues in New York City. That's totally disgusting. I'm really glad sometimes I wasn't around those days. I probably would have fucked some shit up. I've been like, you know, because I mean, if someone harmed a business or a building like that that was turning away black performers back then would that kind of stuff happen? Let's just say there were some terrorists back then that would just, out of moral, uh, you know, moral service to himself and society in general, would have attacked all race violators. You know, anyone that was blatantly being racist. I do think that racial change would have happened a little bit quicker because the combination of passive resistance and violence is what sprang up and brought civil rights movement. That's my opinion. I don't know if any sociologist agrees. It depends on their view of things. Some would say it was passive resistance more. Some would say violence more. But if you got terrorism attacking various New York, you know, high society clubs that turn blacks away and restrict them to being performers, that they have to get a card to be eligible. Let's just say you blow up the Cotton Club one day as a racial terrorism prejudice show of disdain for that kind of racial, discrimination and hatred. I don't know if the racial, that's a whole other thing. I guess maybe you would have sped it up by a couple years because it all kind of changed in '67, but we all know it hasn't changed fully, and hopefully can change for the better more soon over time. Uh, don't really know. But the question, definitely, just because of all that subject matter, would be Billie Holiday. Love to see her story brought to life. And not to say that Joni Mitchell's got like the most thrill a minute life or anything like that. In fact, I don't really know if you'd have a full arc of a movie or anything. But I just personally would love to see Joni Mitchell, her movie. And I'd love to see Sissy Spacek perform and play her because obviously she won an Oscar for playing coal miner's daughter. I'd like her to go full circle and play Joni Mitchell in this film. And obviously, you could de-age her, I guess, nowadays, or just maybe cast her daughter, who herself is a singer, Skylar Fisk, to play her at a younger age. And I think that would be, I don't know, quite delightful. Joni Mitchell is one of my favorite people, let alone, I mean, she's clearly one of the top ones of her genre, top ones in rock history, whatever you want to call that history. So that would be my answer for that. Furthermore, the other lady I think of when I think of Joni Mitchell is Carole King. Carole King, I'd love to see her movie. I know that she's had a very successful Broadway and off-Broadway show made of her life, I believe called Beautiful. So I don't know if you could concentrate mainly on what aspect, but just showing her journey. That would be pretty cool. Carly Simon. I'd love to see Carly Simon's story brought to life. I'd love to see the journey of Fleetwood Mac. You know, her story is just amazing. The Fleetwood Mac lady. Can't think of her exact name right now. I'll post it in the comments later. But about Fleetwood Mac, and I think it would be quite. I can't even think of her name right now. Pat Benatar. I'd like to see maybe a movie about Pat Benatar. I mean, if the other day you just looked at the news, Tyrese was greenlit for a movie about Teddy Pendergrass. And other than the name Teddy Pendergrass, and maybe I really bang my head around a little bit, could think about maybe a song or two by him. It doesn't even compute to me that would be a movie. So all these people I've named right now for women, I mean, I'd like to see Linda Ronstadt's story. I mean, she's famous as shit at one point. More than Teddy Pendergrass, in my opinion. And I guess that shows maybe my age or what age I'm at. But I gotta say, Teddy Pendergrass movie don't really appeal to me. A Pat Benatar movie would. A Carly Simon movie would. That basically covers it. All those women I mentioned just now, and now the lady from Fleetwood Mac. Can't think of her name right now. But then obviously the Nirvana movie. Now, if they're gonna do it anyway, like the Bohemian Rhapsody movie, they may as well just not do it. I'd like to see the Nirvana movie. They have a story that's cinematic. They have a story that's fraught with conspiracy and what really happened. And I'd like to see it brought to life with perhaps different endings, perhaps different theories about what went on. Now, I don't know Courtney Love, what level of control or how you could pay her off, or do you have to wait till she's dead? But perhaps wait till she's dead, who knows, 0 to 20 years on that one. Not gonna try to knock someone or say that she's on a path either way, but she's not exactly young no more, and these people don't exactly live forever in the rock world. So you wait that out, you get the Nirvana members to kind of come full circle and say, hey, we want to share more of our story. That's something that I'd very much be open to as a huge fan of Nirvana. I mean, a lot of Nirvana fans would be like, oh, fuck that, I need to see a movie about it. I would like to see a movie about it. And I'm sure the Kurt Cobain actor that's, could end up playing him is probably only 5 years old right now or so. So I'm not even about to try to cast it right now with these loves that we have in Hollywood right now. Because I do think a new generation of movie stars are going to be on the horizon in the next 5, 7, 8 years. They always is. So some, 12-year-old right now that's acting that, or may not be acting, that we may or may not know about, may end up playing Kurt Cobain at this, age of death or whatever. So, but women-wise, yeah, I named the ones I did already. There's another one, Majeska, a very famous opera singer in the 20th, what would that be? 19th century, and up until the 20th century. Majeska. Want to see a movie about Majeska. Lady Majeska was a famous lady. She owned a lot of property in Anaheim Hills. There's still a house that a landmark, that, historic museum dedicated to her. She had a very interesting life story. Edith Piaf, her, several other famous singers are some of the more famous pre-modern era singers of all time. Jenny Lind was another one. So a Jenny Lind movie, a Majeska movie. Anyone who reached these amazing heights, I think, would be quite amazing. But thank you so much for that question, and very happy to receive it. Thank you. Let's get to one final Q&A question, and then we'll queue up our commentary for Domestic Disturbance. Hope you're able to find it out there on torrent or however you want to stream it, or if you have the DVD or Blu-ray for it. I do have a DVD that has a commentary for it now. Harold Becker does do the best commentaries in the business. I think it's probably my favorite commentary by him. I do like to see a love commentary as well. It's hard to say which is my favorite. He's done the commentaries for so many of his films. I look forward to having his whole filmography, honestly. He's a man that's not afraid to talk. He's got takes, he's got opinions, he's a New York accent. He's about 90 years old, he's still trying to direct movies. So I highly recommend you get the DVD. It's got some deleted scenes in it, and also his commentary and trailers and a couple other storyboards that maybe he drove. Who knows? I don't know if he drew the storyboards himself, but they're pretty good drawings. I was just watching them because you can just press a button and kind of play through them, Oh, I'm petting my dog right now too. She's having a blast. She's just having a blast today. We went down by the river, and now we're home. We chased the ducks around. Yeah, they chased the ducks. All right. So this final question is a really good one, and it also is from someone that I used to know, and it's from Eli. He lives out in New York. How you doing, bud? Um, Thoughts on the 2014 RoboCop? I believe that was the year it was made. I have zero thoughts on it, buddy. I'm really sorry. I've never seen it. I won't bring myself to see it. I somehow started watching the Total Recall one, and I stopped watching it maybe 2 or 3 minutes into it. I just can't do it. If they do want to try again, I'll be more than happy to watch, a nice R-rated RoboCop. I clearly like Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, in some movies, I clearly like Michael Keaton in most movies. Never really seen Joel Kinnaman, who I believe went on to be in Suicide Squad, and haven't watched that movie. I don't even remember him in it. Don't remember much about that movie. Don't really enjoy the experience of it whatsoever. So I guess my thoughts are in it that I'll bring myself to watching it one day. My thoughts on this KFC RoboCop thing is more power to all the people involved getting paid, because obviously they didn't get paid by their 2014 movie. and they deserve. I'm never about these people shouldn't be trying to make more money off what they get. I'm about when their movies suck so bad sometimes that it seems like that's what it's all about. But for God's sakes, if you're gonna cash grab, make a 2014 RoboCop, and it's the turd that everyone said it was, and dropped at the box office as quick as it did, then go ahead and make a deal with KFC. I mean, water down the franchise even further at that point. So I say wait it out 7 or 8 years and find some young, you know, 16, 17-year-old now that will be 25, 26 then, and get a new RoboCop, or a guy in his 30s, you know, when you're ready to go, a guy that's maybe 20 something now and his 30s later to be RoboCop. I'm not about them doing it anytime soon again. I'd like to see RoboCop made in like 2024 or later. A new RoboCop. I mean, they're going to do it anyway. I'd like to see the RoboCop franchise go in a crazy direction. Rights-wise, you can't do this, but making the RoboCop vs. Terminator video games and comic books come to life would just be fucking incredible. It would be an all CGI fest and all that, though, so I'd almost like to see it in like a really violent animated form, but usually you don't have the most violent stuff in the world in terms of American animation. Even foreign animation that's already becomes quite cartoonish looking. Talking about real RoboCop vs. Terminator Sega Genesis adaptation of that video game. Or just taking plot points from those video games and using them in a new plot for a movie. I don't know. I really do think that RoboCop. I really do think RoboCop was a fantastic movie, and there's a lot of potential to bring it into a new decade, as it were. But it did it in the wrong decade, and supposedly it's not good. But I really should check it out. What are your thoughts on RoboCop 2014? Did you enjoy it? Are you able to, when you see it, and then you see the new one, do you start comparing them and anything? Because that's just what I was trying to avoid. Obviously, with Total Recall too. I just think Paul Verhoeven should probably try to remake RoboCop. Sounds crazy, but like, just give him the opportunity to do it. You know. Before he dies, I'd like to see him make a couple more big American blockbusters. I mean, I don't know if he's open to that though. So that's the thing. Sometimes when you make a movie like Schwartzbook and you get more into your, materials and smaller stories, it's hard to go back and make an American movie and funding and all that. I really do hope it works out. So that's the RoboCop deal. Now we're on the logo, the Paramount logo, just where the stars start coming out there. So I hope you got your copy queued up, and we're going to go and start our thing up in a minute here. And it should be a fun commentary. If you've never seen Domestic Disturbance, it's a real hoot of a movie. It's one of these throwback Blink from Hell thrillers that they just don't make anymore. And I highly recommend that you check it out. With all my commentaries, I'm going to say I would like you to watch the movie sometime. If you've never seen it first, then check out the movie and then check out my commentary, because I do often talk about the stuff that's going on right on the screen, where some commentaries talk about all sorts of stuff, but I also digress at times as well. So if you're new to the channel, or you're new in general, I appreciate you tuning in, and we'll try to make this a almost daily thing as much as possible. Maybe more busy the next months ahead, you never know, but this will be the Domestic Disturbance commentary. We're going to count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and press play on the Paramount logo. And there we are. Got some people outside laughing, doing some work on the house, so that's always fun when, we want them to be happy while they're doing work on the house, right? Welcome to the movie room here. And the opening score and credit sequence here is very routine, maybe for thrillers and stuff like that. But what I like about thrillers are the routine of them. This is quite routine. You're showing shots of domestic boat life, mariner life out there in Maryland, and this is where Vince Vaughn's character has settled and recently relocated and become the toast of the town, as we'll soon see. And I love the different flourishes. You got something like Southport, Maryland. You got Matt O'Leary. I don't know what he does for acting as much nowadays, but I think he does decent as the role he's got. You got Rip Torn's daughter, Angelica Torn, in this movie. Does very good in the scenes that she's in. She plays sort of like a combination of the two prostitutes in Fargo, because as you'll see, Steve Buscemi plays a very similar character to how he does in Fargo. Um, Holes up in hotels, smokes cigarettes, watches porn, uh, watches college basketball, that type of thing. Production designer Clay Griffith gets a real A in this movie. I think the production design of the movie is one of the strengths of it. I think it's a well-produced movie by Mr. Crane and Mr. DeLine. I believe they made some films for Paramount in this era, among other studios as well, I think. A guy named Gary Drucker. Good idea to come up with that story, actually. Screenplay is well executed by Lewis Cloak, and obviously it's a very, very, very well-directed, well-paced thriller. And as you can see in the deleted scenes, the things that they cut out is they made the movie more interesting, but maybe they cut away from the pace a little bit. They do show Vince Vaughn as a more malevolent man, even more harassing to the young boy in the deleted scenes. So here we have John Travolta as a boat maker. It's a much different role for him than we're used to. And he's telling them they have permission to board, even though they paid. They paid for this boat, but they didn't pay as much as they should pay. So he's basically building boats for a loss almost, and all the effort and time he spends on each boat, he should be charging more for his services. Boat was the bargain of the century, says his administrative secretary or whatever. If you build any more at that price, then he's gonna go out of business. And Teresa, he's gonna explain to you the idea that he's part of noble failure. So you get this guy, he's part of a noble failure in his life. He's not really making the most of his life. He's a boat maker and things haven't worked out for him. He had a drinking problem, he got divorced, and now he's having to pick up his son and interact with his son in this more superficial level because he doesn't have, he's not living with them anymore and all that. So it's a different situation. He lives down by the docks, and he lives down by the docks, and he's not really part of their family life. So Ruben Santiago Hudson, he plays some cop or something in the town. And Ruben Santiago Hudson, I remember looking it up once, I believe he's the cousin or the nephew of Ernie Hudson. And Ernie Hudson, of course, was great in the thriller Hand That Rocks the Cradle, so I always thought that was fun. So out there in the chat, what are some of your favorite thrillers? Your favorite Blame from Hell thrillers? Hand That Rocks the Cradle, The Temp, Black Widow. What are some of your favorite ones? Post them down in the comments. Kiss Before Dying, Unlawful Entry, Pacific Heights. They're all great. Go ahead and let me know what your favorites are. I myself would have loved to see Kim Basinger in a Blame from Hell thriller. She played, in some thrillers, but not really that kind of genre. So I would have loved to have seen that. I guess she's kind of that in Final Analysis, but not really. So, hope everyone's doing good out there. Enjoying their afternoon and evening, however it may be. Now, first time I'm ever really going to comment on this. There's quite a big of an age gap between John Travolta and Terry Polo, but they don't really comment on it. and I guess it's just obvious that he's a little bit older than her. But it was the first time I ever really noticed, and they seem to make it work. There's extreme bitterness between the two, obviously, because their marriage fell apart, and she's taken up with this younger man, Vince Vaughn. That's clearly a more social standing than him, but of mysterious origin. Go ahead and watch this scene here and see the dynamic between father and son, because this is when this movie should win you over, in my opinion. You buy the bond of the father and son as they eat seafood out on the docks here. At least I did. I always will, and that's why I think the movie sells itself. You have to have a scene that sells it to the audience, because you don't care about his boat making, you don't care about some school shit that went on. You care about this dynamic between the father and son, and whether or not they can keep their relationship strong through the turmoil of the new marriage and all that. So that's the strength of the film, and Harold Becker is magnificent at finding the strengths of the film. The loneliness of Al Pacino's character in Sea of Love. It's the guilt of the Bruce Willis character in Mercury Rising. It's the passion and everything going on in Vision Quest, and the other thriller Malice. There's a lot going on, and maybe that's why I don't have as much of a stronger thriller narrative flow, I guess you would say. But I want to revisit that movie. So now Terry Polo is kind of playing a game with John Travolta, using his guilt to say, "Please take my fiance sailing with you." So that kind of pushes him into a situation where he's like, "Fuck that." So one of the deleted scenes is having where his new wife is leaving him. Because John Travolta is not necessarily remarried himself. His new girlfriend is upset at him because she's hot, and he is hung up on Terry Polo and drama with his legit son. But it's at a certain point you gotta let your son have his own life, and she's kind of wound up, and she said, "Yeah, Danny needs to accept the fact that the bitch is getting remarried, and he best understand that, and you got to understand it too." So now he cites a very strange and random part of the screenplay here. He says that there was a famous football player named Keith Barrell. I mean, I don't think there was, but anyway, he says that there was, and that his buddy or something had fallen out with the wife, and Keith Barrell ended up marrying his wife, and then the kid don't even talk to the father no more. So found that to be a very strange example once, and I love that line. "I'm a boat builder, and a poor boat builder at that." And he looks to be delighted playing the role, but do we ever fully buy him as a boat builder? I mean, kind of. At a certain point, his acting takes on that he is a boat builder, or at least a boat navigator. Now, I wish there could have been something at sea in the finale. Spoiler alert, I don't think there's enough at sea aspects for it. Because you got parts like this that are just brilliant boating, sailing scenes. I'm not sure how much boating and sailing experience Mr. Travolta had coming into this movie, but he certainly seems experienced later. And what I love about the Travoltas and the crews is they always throw their relatives in, whether it be Tom Fridley, who's got roles in Face Off and Mad City and other Travolta movies, or whether he throws his sister in as she throws his sister in as like the school nurse in this. Even though the scene ends up getting cut out, it's pretty cool to see another Travolta in a movie. And it does kind of look like how Travolta looked in Hairspray with that crazy, wig and all that. Which, what a brave actor to have done that. Really brave actor. You get the feeling that if he did that in today's day and age, they would say it's inappropriate and it's taking away the role from a woman, even though the role was originally a man playing a woman by divine. Things are crazy nowadays. So I like the part where John Travolta exits the boat and you look at his hair. I just love that part. His hair is crazy as fuck. And he's got the wind blowing on the back. It's like, hey, this is my prime swordfish uh, Battlefield Earth domestic disturbance era. And it kind of looks like he's this ultimate villain there. And obviously his hair gets properly combed for the next scene, which I don't know if it would look like that. So after the day on the boat, he says, "Are you feeling a little bit better about your mom marrying Rick?" And Rick's kind of just a piece of shit. So once you meet Rick, you'll see, you know, I mean, you just saw him kind of on the boat, and he was being on his best behavior. But Rick one-on-one's a little punk sometimes. Like, honestly, the part where they're playing baseball is pretty classic. You can see why Rick acts the way he does, but still, if he's trying to become the kid's father, he's pretty harsh. Pretty harsh to say the least. So this ain't no horror movie. I mean, but it has some horror aspects, and I do like the voyeuristic nature of the film. That he actually sees something he's not supposed to see. The boy I'm talking about, and I do like some of the kills in it, and the way that it kind of ramps up the tension. Oh, and look how hot John Travolta's new girlfriend is. She says that the boy looks handsome, and he's gonna go get showing off some glove or something that uh, that homie G bought for him, homie G Rick, and they're about to get married, and he goes to the wedding with his girlfriend, and that way he doesn't feel like he's a cuck, and he's now about to get the biggest surprise of his life, and I'm talking about Vince Vaughn, because you're gonna get a slime ball arriving. Now the slime ball is Steve Buscemi, and Steve Buscemi plays a slime ball really cool. This guy, it's an insult to even call him a slime ball. He's actually the strength of the movie. You're rooting for this guy. I'm rooting for this guy at least, and I feel that it's amazing how he performed this, and he improvised some lines, and he does his thing. You'll see in the coffee shop scene in a little while when John Travolta says, "You enjoying getting to know the town?" He says, "Yeah, there's not enough porn shops in town. Have you noticed?" And that's an improvised line. John Travolta has a bemused look on his face, and that's his reaction. So anyway, he toasts Vince Vaughn during the middle of his marriage ceremony and clearly throws off Mr. Vaughn from his game. Clearly. I'm really excited though. This is one of my favorite movies of the genre. I'd only recently seen it in recent years, and I have a French version DVD of it, so Steve Buscemi's great. If there were a live action Kermit the Frog movie, would you want to see him play Kermit the Frog? Maybe they can make him CGI like that. He's got the body type to be Kermit the Frog. I was always surprised when I heard that he was a fireman in the past. So I love that part by Travolta. He comments and says, "Who was that guy?" You know, in the reception line there. That he comments that Rick looks surprised. So he's already look at Travolta doing his little detective work here. He knows that something's up with Vince Vaughn, and he's gonna start asking some questions about where he knows him and all this. And Buscemi don't know that that's his ex-wife. So he said, "Oh, I was settling down with this nice piece of ass," and that's his ex-wife. Bay Area, and yeah, he came all the way from the Bay Area to the wedding, and that draws suspicion for Mr. Travolta too. I don't really know why. And he said, "How long have you known Rick? We go to school together way back." And Travolta gets all thrown out. Travolta says we used to be in business together. So obviously the stories don't match up already. So that's something to watch out for. I really love this scene by Steve Buscemi. He's not as famous as he is now. He might have taken on a role like this in a modern movie. But he does a really good job with this scene. Says, I see you got all these wedding gifts, this fancy shit, and you have to take care of me, basically. I love this scene. Oh boy, it just got really cold out. I don't know why. So you got the boy dancing with his mother at the wedding. That's nice. The boy asks a very apt question. She says, I got the fortunate that I have 3 men in my life. And he says, which one's number one? And she says, you'll always be number one, sweetheart. But really, though, I mean, her priority is Vince Vaughn at this point. So she's going to go into town, do some shopping or whatever, and they're playing catch together. And now Vince Vaughn doesn't like how the boy says, come on, I could have had that. So he throws it really hard at him, and he said, you should have had that. And he blames it on the glove. And Vince Vaughn don't like that he doing that. And he says it was practically right to you. And he said, but now they're going into an area here where he's saying that, you know, you should have got that catch, and that my dad could have got it. He's like, oh, it's your dad, Shaq. And then, you know, then he tells you, you know your dad's working for me now, so you don't want to be chasing the ball around. He wants the ball to come to him. Aim and concentrate. Take it easy. Ah, man, I'm telling you, this is quite a weird scene between the two. Matt O'Leary and Vince Vaughn, they seem to have really worked on developing a tense relationship between each other. And that when Vince Vaughn kind of blows up at the kid there, he doesn't really say anything too inappropriate. It's just a bunch of, well-worded words, not profanity. And then now we cut to this scene where the boy is learning how to paint or do something with the boat. And he said, yeah, you do all this. His brush strokes are even and make sure the edges don't dry because then you'll get distortion. He's telling him how to make boat. And within this process, he's going to bring up about why he threw the baseball through the glass. And their family history goes back to that if you mess up, you should just use sandpaper. So that's the kind of family history that's in John Travolta's side. A bunch of boat makers who would all use sandpaper. That God invented sandpaper for a reason. So that's a kind of a common man, what yeoman wisdom that goes on in this family, and these good family values. And now he's imploring on what had happened with Vince Vaughn and his son, and saying how his son is saying that he was being rough on him when playing catch, and that Travolta says he's trying to just get him ready for it, and that he needs the money now, Mr. Travolta says, and that people just don't want boats made out of wood anymore. I don't know much about yachts and all that, so I'll take their word for it. I guess I take their word for it. I think a boat made out of wood. Wouldn't be Curly Boo Boo? That's my doggy right here. Yeah. You're a good dog. Happy dog. What did I do? So Travolta's saying some weird scene that he was at the coffee shop and some girl was asking about the son. I always thought that was a strange scene. But now This is a classic scene. About to see Travolta see Buscemi and go up to him and start talking again. And they're gonna have a funny little encounter where he's gonna mention the porn shops, like I said. And that Ray is continuing to stay in town. Now Ray, this character that he plays in this is a lot like the Fargo character, like I said. He's when Fargo hired to do a mission, and in this he's found his old buddy, and that's his mission. Both are about trying to get money for services that they're either did in the past or that they've done currently, like in the case of Fargo, kidnapping and all that. So, we got ourselves a Travolta that's always trying to vet people out. He says, if I got a realtor in town here, so he's offering to find him a realtor. And then what's his name says about the porn stars, and I love porn stars, and I love the reaction that Mr. Travolta has, this kind of bemused laugh. And then as he's talking to this big city leader in town, right in town square, he sees a worst nightmare. Travolta talking to Buscemi. That's something he must head off. So he drives right to the Shady Tree Motel, and he gets a hold of Buscemi and says, "What the hell were you doing in town? And that you're not fit to be in the town. It's not a town for you." I'm just trying to chill right now, Bubba girl. So she's saying that Buscemi's always had a big mouth and that he shouldn't be in this town. And that's not debatable. That he's there to bring reckoning to Vince Vaughn and revenge because he wants money and things that was promised to him. All right, Curly. So they have other comrades that are in prison, and he says he should send them their share. I like this scene quite a lot. I'm a big fan of this scene, and I think that it's underrated in thriller history. You can go lie down somewhere else if you want, dog. I don't know what you want from me. I'm doing a commentary right now. I have to talk during the movie. So he says that he finds Vince Vaughn here by tracking him down based on some old reminiscences that he had talking about his great summers here in Maryland. So he just almost had been looking for him for years, and he finally found him now. So that's pretty exciting shit. I bet Buscemi was all psyched. He's like, "Yeah, I found the old Vince Vaughn dude. I can get a payday. And not only that, I can shock the shit out of him." So he finds this marriage announcement. Vince Vaughn realizes, "Shit, man, I've been too high profile out here in Maryland. Should have just been a little bit more blue collar." But he's become a white collar success story. And white collar success stories get written about in the write ups and the wedding announcements. That's just how it goes. You got Harold Becker really putting a lot of detail into this scene. Really a well played scene between these two grown men actors with secrets to hide. Those kind of scenes don't happen too much in thrillers, blackmail and the like. It's usually, done a little bit differently. So I really do like this scene quite a lot. I don't really see that this movie has any flaws. I mean, some would say, maybe the second half's more predictable. It could have used a better finale. But my argument to that is like, what kind of better finale would you have wanted? You get all the fights and everything. Would you have wanted it to be on a boat at night? It may have been harder to see and all that. Maybe a boat by day, like how it had a beautiful day at sailing at the beginning. Then you get to do that again. But I would say they probably didn't have the budget to have like a big boat shoot where violence happens. A big boat shoot where things are calm. Yeah, they were able to do that. Now, Danny is being a little selfish little brat. He's getting a brother out of this whole thing, and his reaction is to go run upstairs and act like his life is getting ruined. I'll tell you what, I'm not an only child, but if I was told I was going to have a younger brother and I was a teenager, I would have loved it. Like, literally loved it. So, I do feel that that's a little bit of an over dramatic feel, but the way he's acting lately, he's been over dramatic anyway. And you got this kid that's acting out that now is going to, in everyone else's mind, have a reason to make something up. So he's going to see something and now make everyone's going to think he's making it up. But he's telling, that's Rip Torn's daughter right there, by the way. So it's Rip Torn, that's Cece Spacek's cousin. Just like in a Fargo, he's watching college basketball a lot. He's gonna go somewhere. So Matt O'Leary, the actor, looks like just that he hates Vince Vaughn. Not even the character, it looks like it's beyond charactering. It looks like they're just angry at each other 24/7. The bad things haven't really even happened yet. So through his lack of trust of this individual, and that he impregnated his mama, a boy gets so mad that he's going to scale. I was watching the storyboards for this scene. Scale down his drain pipe and crash into this homie's car and make sure that he's undetected and spring a ride into town and follow this fucker around. That is the height of suspicion right there. That's a very suspicious young lad. So this is weird. The mother doesn't go upstairs and go check on the son again. I guess she just thinks the conversation's over. Because had she discovered that her son wasn't there. That's potential for a possibility of a plot thing that don't make sense. I can point out why a little bit later. But basically, it's like, had she go upstairs and realize that her son's not there, then it would be give her more believability, give her more reason to believe that Vince Vaughn's bad. So that's interesting. Never thought about that. Had she gone and checked on the son, she would have realized that it's very plausible that he did sneak off, because here he is not in his room at night, but here she's being kind of a malingerer herself. She just has a bad encounter and doesn't go check on her son. She should have gone and checked on her son, and arguably she would have realized that Vince Vaughn possibly did some shady shit that night, because, or she would just ground him, one of the two. She wouldn't even ask him where he went once she realized he wasn't there. She would just ground him, and that, would put the plot even more where he's got more restrictions on him. So I think that to be an interesting point. A distinction that I never really thought of. That had she just gone and checked on him, then she'd believe him more, because she would have known that he wasn't in his room. Like right now, he's not in his room, and yet God knows what she's doing right now. She's probably just watching Jeopardy or something. She's probably like a really big Jeopardy head. She's like, oh shit, I'm having another kid, and my homie husband is just drawn him into town. My homie's son's up there tripping out. Fuck my homie's son, I'm gonna watch Jeopardy. That's kind of her deal. It is kind of Terry Polo in this movie. She's kind of, I don't want to say she's half in, half out on this movie, but that's her role. Her role is this woman that's half in and half out of life, half in on friendship now with John Travolta, and full out on the relationship. But is she full out? She's more like half in. So then you got that with her son, that he's older now, so they're half in on what used to be, and they're full in on their love, but they're going out the back door on other stuff. And her relationship with Vince Vaughn. It's that she loves him, but can she ever truly love a man after, having her son is basically a man at this point? So there's a lot going on with the love triangulation, that she triangulates her love among these three men. Very aptly put there. Who's the man of the hour? Or who's the one that she's going to, who's number one in that book? And she says it's the son, but she's all over the place. And the real answer to that question is that she's the number one man. That she's got not necessarily, she's got human needs and instincts above being a man or a woman that are more important than all these men. More I'm trying to say is that her ego and everyone's ego is going to be driving them forward. So I like that sequence quite well. Obviously, Steve Buscemi goes and reaches in the back and realizes that the kid's there. He says, "Look at what we got here." And then before you can tell him that they've got spied on, the guy that sees that Metal Larry's in the back seat just bashes Steve Buscemi before Steve Buscemi can be like, "Oh, it's your stupid ass stepson." Pardon me. I like to eat some food and it got stuck down the wrong pipe, I guess. So to everyone out there, have you seen Domestic Disturbance? Are you familiar with this scene? Are you familiar that Steve Buscemi gets disposed of in strange ways in this movie and in Fargo? Obviously, in Fargo, it's a more atypical way of getting, you're put through the whole wood chipper and everything like that. And this, he's going to get burned alive, or burned recently dead. So just killed 20, 30 minutes earlier. And then somehow Vince Vaughn owns this burner, and so he's going to be controlling the output of this burner. Now, I'm no genius, but I think if you burn something, then you need to burn something of that quantitude. Steve Buscemi is not a small man. I mean, he's an angular man. He's a skinny man. He's not a small man. I mean, I think there's some shape to Steve Buscemi. So if you set Steve Buscemi on fire, I think there'd be a little bit of like some Buscemi-ness left over, some business. But they never look for evidence until it's too late. I think he already cleans out the furnace grate, gets some grunts in there to go clean that grate out. So that's Steve Buscemi for you, and he gets Vince Vaughn just wipes down the car, and Troy O'Leary, or whatever, Matt O'Leary, he's able to hide back there pretty well without being detected. At this point, I would think that Vince Vaughn just would check every aspect of the truck and SUV to make sure that there's no chance that not any blood splatter of Buscemi got anywhere or anything. Because right now, that boy, I would say, is in jeopardy of fuck as hell. Because look at this, dude. He's in the back seat where the dude was just murdered. He needs to get out of the car. I think he does escape here because it's one of those things that you can't be detected here, or you're just gonna get killed. He wants to be able to live with this information. So there he goes. There he goes. Every time there's about to be a logical flaw or something, it ends up kind of correcting itself, and that's what I love about this movie. Everything's pretty airtight. Only thing that's not airtight is why did she try to go apologize and continue her conversation? Maybe when he gets back to the house, we'll see that she's been looking for him, but And if she is looking for him and she doesn't put two and two together that what he's saying did happen, then she's exactly a little bit more scattered and confused from her whole, life being as it is than we would led to have thought. I don't want to drink too much of my juice. So he gets home, and as I thought, as I suspected, the movie's even more airtight than I thought. That you know, she did go to check on him, and Danny showed up somewhere else, and that's why I think it's a little weird. She doesn't suspect that her son's telling the truth when he says that he sees what he sees. He's claiming that he saw what he saw Vince Vaughn kill Bashimi, and no one else is gonna believe him. But no one basically, no one's gonna believe him. Vince Vaughn or Travolta will, try to believe him because he's very much on his son's side, clearly. Excuse me. I just think that John Travolta's girlfriend in this movie is pretty cute. I've never seen her in anything else. I don't know what's a casting couch situation or what, but never seen her in anything else. Terry Polo, I've seen her pop through the years quite a lot. She was playing the lesbian cop on a TV show on ABC Freeform, ABC Family Freeform called The Fosters. J Lo produced a show called The Fosters, and she was dating some black chick, and they had a foster family, and she was a cop. Thought she did a really good job on that show, and obviously she did a, pretty outstanding job in the Meet the Parents films. Meet the Parents 1, Meet the Fockers, and then Little Fockers. But she's not the problem in any of the movies. They're all what they are. Mystery Date. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Meet the Fockers and Meet the Parents. Little Fockers, I can take or leave. So, just to clarify, I'm a big fan of those movies. Mystery Date starred Terry Polo. Several other movies through the 90s as well, 2000s. So she works pretty steadily. I'm sure she's, probably doing some Hallmark movies at this point. In fact, I do remember her in some. I hope that she's not doing anything like Felicity Huffman or Lori Loughlin, but let's be honest, I'm sure that situation goes on in all walks of life a lot more than we were ever led to believe. I mean, rich people pay to get their kids in college more, they pay for favors, I guess. So is that really a surprise? No. But you got Aunt Becky from Full House tripping up and doing that, and when you got Felicity Huffman and her sad faced husband William H. Macy up in that situation, it's just pretty terrible. So anyway, back to the film here. Terry Polo doesn't want him to go to sleep at Travolta's house. Travolta wants to insist, but then Danny kept saying, "Oh, don't make me go," and they seem to think that Danny and his charges against what they're what the established story is just like all his other bullshit, like when he ran away from school the other day, and when he threw the ball through the window, and then this, and then that, and then that. Instead, it's a kind of a boy who cried wolf situation, and he really did cry wolf. Uh, he isn't crying wolf regarding what he saw, and he saw a Bashimi get killed, and he did indeed. Now you got kind of a creepy vibe going on here, where Vince Vaughn is creeping around outside the bedroom door of domestic of the boy. And I found that to be a very creepy scene. There's a deleted scene later where he basically kind of gets very physical in his attack on the boy, kind of slapping him around a little bit, I think, and talking more shit. So I'm a big fan of that scene. Actually, I kind of wish that was in the movie, just kind of talking some shit and shoving him around a little bit. And I like the use of shadows and everything. Obviously, in this scene, he sees the shadow of Vince Vaughn standing outside his door, and he grabs a bat and walks up, and all the shadows are looming large. Literally a very good scene. I mean, that's what I can tell this movie is just a combination of sequence after sequence after sequence that none of them are home runs. None of them are even, I mean, some of them are singles. But all of them, I would say on average, are at least doubles or they're, getting legged out. Oh, yeah. So Vince Vaughn just jabs up on him here. So this is the most physical scene. He says, You're asleep right now. This is all a dream, punk. So he snuck up on him in the hallway. Someone got their hand over their mouth and you can't breathe and you can't wake up, can you, punk? Yeah. So this is a scene that don't happen in every thriller. Now he's telling this boy like it is that you're gonna have the story going that this was all a dream and that I didn't murder no one and you're all wrong about it, or I'm gonna fucking kill your father basically and make your life a big screaming nightmare. So that's a pretty big threat. So you better wake up. So he threatened that boy pretty much like he would threaten Bashimi or anyone else. He's a stone cold killer. I think Vince Vaughn pretty much sells this role pretty well. It would have been really cool to play some role like this. The jury's not out for forever, but that's a pretty fucking baller ass role where you just jab up on this, stepson, put his face against the wall and say, punk ass bitch, you ain't saying shit. You've been living a dream. This dream's about to end. You want every day of your life to be a fucking nightmare. You best fucking play ball and say, I didn't kill no motherfucking Pacini. I like that. That's a pretty tight scene, man. That's like when Rebecca De Mornay go up to that punk in the schoolyard and hand the rocks the cradle, and she twists his arm back and all that. And similar to how when she dressed down Ernie Hudson and with all that harsh language that she calls to him. Those are the kind of scenes that make thrillers like this. Just like when you're watching a good slasher, that's like a really good bait and switch kill scene when you're gonna think one person's gonna get killed and the other one gets killed. Those are the kind of scenes that make a good slasher, and those are the DNA right there of a good thriller. The intimidation scene, a De Mornay going real strong at someone, Don Johnson fucking with some people and guilty as sin. Obviously, anything that Matt Dillon did in his passive aggressive kind of domination of Sean Young, character wise, I don't mean acting wise. Sea of Love, the red herring type shit that they do with Ellen Barkin in that film. Some of the stuff in Basic Instinct. Those are the DNA of thrillers, and the intimidation aspect of Catherine Tremell, Sharon Stone. Those are the things I love about movies. Is these blame from hell thrillers and how they hit their buttons and they hit them effectively. So he is basically now paying off John Travolta and saying, here's 50 grand. When can you start on that boat? And Travolta at least has the gall to say, hey, I have no idea what kind of man you are, and my son's under your roof, and I'm all thinking about that. And basically, homie's just here to give you 50 grand. Do you want it or not? That type thing. You know, I like this scene where obviously we all know what that 50 grand means. It means it's hush money, but build the boat too. But here's 50 grand for you, punk bitch, and your Danny, your boy, is safe in my house, quote unquote. Probably is not good enough for John Travolta. He wants more of an assurance that Vince Vaughn's not a psycho killer. But it's tough to get an assurance that he's not a good psycho killer. I mean, there's lots of psycho killers out there. So basically, this movie co-stars Vince Vaughn's forehead. He has got this is the battle of foreheads, whereas Face Off is the battle of John Travolta versus uh, Nicolas Cage. This is the battle of the face of the forehead of John Travolta versus the forehead of Vince Vaughn. And Matt O'Leary, I mean, young boy, but he's growing a pretty nice forehead himself. That's my dog right there. Nothing but the dog in me. Bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay. Bow wow wow yippee yo 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 yo. Now just move your hands way up in the air. Wave them all around like you just don't care. Right, doggy boo? You're a good doggy boo. So John Travolta's forehead gets all like, yeah, he does have a pretty, very big forehead. For a young man, he has a very large forehead. So John Travolta Dom just fucked up now. She has a pretty big forehead too. Nothing like the men's, but it's a pretty big forehead actually. It's got like a good 3-4 inches. She actually, her face looked more full when she played that lesbian cop on the Fosters. And I much enjoyed the Fosters. I only watched maybe the first season of it though, but I know it's spun off into other shows. I much enjoyed the Fosters. So he punched that guy in the face because he was trying to basically abduct his son by the letter of the law. And he explains to his son that he's currently kidnapping his son because he's not actually kidnapping him, but by the letter of the law, he don't have custody and he just stole him off from the school. So they're basically going to forcibly arrest Travolta here for assault and abduction, I guess. So they now say that he's exploiting the son's psycho-ness as a way of getting his custody of his son back. Which, I mean, he's trying to get custody of the son, but it's not because of that. It's because he believes his son and he thinks that Vince Vaughn is a psycho killer. Travolta's got wings in his hair. It looks like a bird flying against the sky. Is like the imprint of his head. I don't know. It's hard to describe that exactly, but obviously the chin is not a full butt at this point. It's kind of a divided butt. I don't know. His chin's got a different look in this film than others. Has anyone ever noticed that? And obviously that's Ernie Hudson's cousin or nephew. The school nurse, I don't know if we've seen that scene, but she's, obviously the little Matt O'Leary boy, he starts laying around like a little punk bitch. And the school nurse says that he's kind of in a layabout mood. And I don't know. I think that might be a deleted scene. We got a lot of cousins, nephews, and sisters in this movie. More power to everyone. Paramount's very good like that. Paramount's very good like that. Oh, you want to cast someone that's a relative of yours for like 18 films? No fucking problem. You sign on the dotted line. I mean, literally a lot of different movies that Paramount has made have relatives, cousins, nephews, sisters, brothers of famous people in them. And there's no problem with that. Every studio has done that. I mean, the 16th, 17th, 18th, 10th billing person in a movie are not as insignificant as a gaffer or anything like that, but pretty much they just need to be filled in those roles. They don't really need to be one specific thing, unless they do. And if they do, then have them play something else, like a cop walking down the street that says, "Oh, hey, look at that thing in the sky." I mean, it's great to get these people work in the family. So who's that picture, far left corner of her little armoire there with all those flowers? Very strange, unexplained. Does anyone know who that photo is? Or is that something that we're supposed to know? Seriously, see that photo in the far left corner of her armoire? And there's another photo of that person. Has anyone ever noticed that? Okay, I almost want to pause it, but I won't. Now we can't see that shot anymore. But there's just a bunch of photos of that one freaky looking person. That's who she's really in love with. She's got 4 beings in her life. Whether that's a creature, a man, or what, it kind of looked like, I don't know. Looked like a bunch of people. Looked like in every person. It looked like an androgynous person from like the 20s. It's like, hello. Take a look at her armoire when you guys rewind this sometime on whatever part of the movie that was. The scene where he's hugging her in the bedroom. She's got some freaky looking people on her armoire, and then on her bedside table, black and white photos of this like very androgynous looking person. So, all right. So welcome to the Barbecue Network's live stream commentary and Q&A discussion. The live stream commentary is for domestic disturbance. I believe in French it's Ifan Domestique. Oh, so there's another violent encounter where Vince Vaughn is telling him, you're going to go and boondoggle this whole law case. You up doing this law case, a custody hearing. You're going to boondoggle it and play it for our side, or your dad's going to get it. Very good scene here. Scenes like this are the bread and butter of thrillers. You're going to play ball by my standards, or you ain't going to ever play ball again with your pa. All right? Well, this is when, if he would have stepped up and had some integrity, but he's trying to save his dad's life. The boy is not really sharp enough to know it's a threat that could be followed up on or not. And now the son's going to go in here and waste the taxpayers' money. Waste the father's time and taxpayers' money. And go up here and admit that he was lying about the whole thing, even though he wasn't. Waste the taxpayers' money. And, he's going to be proven as a liar, even though he wasn't even lying. And his dad's going to lose custody again. And stepfather ain't going to give a fuck. And Terry Polo's going to be like, oh, this stupid ass son. All because the son believes the relatively innocuous threat by Vince Vaughn. Now, he's seen Vince Vaughn kill someone, but he saw Vince Vaughn kill Steve Buscemi. Not necessarily has he ever seen his father come to any harm through Vince Vaughn yet. But he does believe the threat is real. The boy does not fill out the whole chair on the witness stand. He looks thrown off by the process, and then he's going to admit to being a liar even though he's not. This is quite a difficult scene here. And Travolta looks a little bit on edge, as rightfully he should. So basically he just makes up the whole thing. Vince Vaughn goes in that little book, and then he remembers that he's gonna, protect his father. Travolta, pretty sharp here. He says that did this motherfucker threaten you? And the answer to that question is yes. But hey, hard to prove that. You hear something, it's my dog licking the couch. She's enjoying licking the couch, I guess. I don't really know why, but hey, that's fine. And now you got Travolta going to the bar. And this is where things went down the wrong path for him when he would bar it up in the past. So he's going to bar it up. And he's going to go to drink at this bar. And this woman is going to tell him to stop it. And to go try to work things out kind of with the son. So yeah, you can go walk down somewhere else. There you go, Baba Haba. Good dog. Go lie down. I'm in the middle of commentary. Good girl. Ugh. So this is a good pep talk. Sure, son could be living under the roof of a serial killer, but this is how you lost Danny the first time. Come on, Frank, let's go home. And he makes a little joke like, hey, maybe it would be a nice roll in the hay with this broad. But she's obviously a little bit too elderly for him, and he's got his girlfriend, as it were. But wow, what a roll in the hay that would be. Nice little scene between them. What happened on screen, at least. So he goes try to claim his son for their little father-son time, and the boy don't want to see the father, probably because he doesn't want to let anything slip that would then reveal that the father is the target to be murdered by Mr. Vaughn. So Terry Polo is probably kind of enjoying this at this point because she's liking to see Travolta lose more and more custody, I think, and liking to see her son be proven to be a schmagag. That's just my theory on it all. Because she loves her son and she loves the Travolta, but obviously she doesn't like her judgment being called into question, which is really what this is all about, is judgment. And obviously the Southport Chamber of Commerce judges Vince Vaughn so well that they're giving him a, Man of the Year Chamber of the Commerce Award. You don't get that unless you're a little bit higher than sliced bread or whatever. So, boy goes to the Southport Chamber of Commerce meeting, and he don't really like being there, obviously. But it's an award ceremony, so he may have got a couple little fun little things to eat or something like that, as award ceremonies tend to do. So here's Vince Vaughn. John Travolta, mind you, lingering around in the Southport parking lot, City Hall parking lot, and now approaching everyone. Now Vince Vaughn's taller than everyone, of course. Hard man to get a hold of. So he's trying to talk to his son at 10 o'clock at night, and I'm about to have a little encounter with Vince Vaughn. And Travolta's been drinking. Travolta kind of looks like a. So Travolta has to get physical with Vince Vaughn there. Wow. I forgot about that part. The boy tells the father to go, he should have, and now he's going to try to tip him off. The boy's going to run up. So he reveals that Travolta's suspicion is correct, that You gotta have stop having trouble made for by him and all that. But okay, now more leering threats. Vince Vaughn creeping up on the boy as he's doing his brushing of his teeth, just trying to do his basic, nightly routine. And yeah, that's never nice. Tries to ask what he was doing talking to his dad. So he's restricting who he can talk to and what he can say to his dad, obviously. Because he knows that once he tries to tell his dad that it's all made up, that he made up that he made it up, then it's a situation where where Travolta will go to the cops again, or maybe make even more trouble. So Vince Vaughn is very effective. They're calling him a little fucking liar. Staring right at the chap and a little fucking liar. Well, that's good. I like that part quite a lot. Let me type this something in real quick. Okay, cool. What time do you want to meet up? Okay, cool. What time? This part's a really good part, actually. All right. I love these scenes. Julianne Moore in Hand That Rocks the Cradle was very effective in these scenes, and this scene is no different. This is the detective scenes, microfiche scenes, as you would call them in some thrillers, where you go and see who was, who check on the story of the antagonist. Melanie Griffith, effective in that part for Pacific Heights, but a little bit ethereal, I guess. Whereas the others were more, you felt they had a good firm grasp on what they were doing. Hers just seemed to kind of fall together. Where she Beverly D'Angelo, you always meet someone who has some seedy backstory, such as Beverly D'Angelo, or in this case, Angelica Torn, or in the case of the creepy doctor from Star Trek that was in Hand That Rocks the Cradle. He used the creepy backstory there that was, oh my gosh. As Julianne Moore found that information, it became a smoking gun. And then that's why she was then done away with the greenhouse in Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Obviously, she's Rip Torn's daughter. I mean, as I pointed it out earlier, but if you don't see the resemblance, you can clearly see it there. Angelica Torn. So he wants to use a cigarette lighter and So he buys this lighter that's a memorabilia from the guy, or souvenir from the guy, and he puts $25. So he's now invested into the outcome of this. Not only invested through his familiar relations and all that, but he put 25 smackers, including all the gas money, driving around, putting together all this information. So I just thought I'd point that out. He's not only invested as whatever, but $25, that's, he paid for a lighter, paid for evidence. So that's something. That's something. So clearly, Vince Vaughn is suspicious as fuck. He pulls up to town and sees homie's, truck right there. That's trouble. Now Vince Vaughn's having to go in and talk to the cops. Do something. A lot of people have handled the lighter, so that's $25 not worth spent. Cigarette lighter was used by Patty Walsh, and that turned up nothing. Very surprising. I was always surprised by that development, but it's good that he went up the chain and got all that information and evidence. So Travolta and Vince Vaughn, he says, "Hey Vince Vaughn, you see this lighter?" So that lighter fell out of Ray's truck. The threat is that he's not going to hurt your son, he's going to hurt you. Travolta doesn't seem to understand that. Very powerful scenes between Vince Vaughn though and Travolta here. There's not ever really a false note between these chaps. Vince Vaughn or Travolta keeps playing with that lighter. Any evidence that was on it, it's now far gone. That's a $25 investment down the tubes. That's the son being quite good at basketball. Showing him different ages there. He's a Comets star player number 33. You said that he liked to screw and he liked to watch basketball. What team did he root for? So then he goes to his Microsoft Network search account here, and this is the quote unquote microfiching. So you can't just do driving around investigatory buying evidence. You have to do microfiching or going online. So then he goes Ray Coleman, Chicago, racketeering, and then he pieces it all together. He said, "What did your college basketball team that homie like?" Says something in Chicago, and then he basically finds all the evidence he needs so that Ray Coleman was involved in racketeering, and a fourth conviction has never been able to be made done because boom, and as the picture fills out, it's Vince Vaughn. Boom. I love the reveal there. Now on Arlington Road, when he's microfiching, the guy comes out behind him in the office. That's quite a scary way when you're microfiching. We'll do Arlington Road one day, but yeah, he's looking for the information. He finds all the scary information, and Tim Robbins comes up behind him, being all scary and intense and shit, threatening. That's a lot to handle. Anyway, he prints out the letter or whatever that says that Vince Vaughn's like a fucking gang member, mafia member. But before he can get very far with that whole system, he gets pumped up on by Vince Vaughn from behind like that. Pretty good little scene there. That's another good scene. Dumps a bunch of gasoline all over Travolta. A pretty brutal scene for Travolta. You know, he gets punked up on, beaten up on, gas poured on him. He's a big movie star. I mean, less so now, but this is pretty much post peak Travolta getting kind of just walloped up on by Vince Vaughn. And this is the violent part of these movies sometimes. Towards the end of the movie, it finally turns violent. You think you fucking got all your information there? So this is basically just after the Arlington Road thing. Then he lights on, whoa. So Vince Vaughn was kind of stupid there. He didn't really set the best fire. He's in, you know what's sad here is he's only like $25 in on an investment into that lighter. But now, Vince Vaughn was watching him doing the computing just like the Arlington Road situation. Very, very similar. And now, because of all that, he's set the boat factory on fire. And he set the boat factory on fire, man. We already know that he's barely getting by hacking up these boats and selling them. So, I mean, that ain't a cool situation. So Travolta is going to have to wake up real quick because all this paint is flammable, clearly. All the paint thinner and all the like. And he wakes up in a, you know, fire nightmare. And the good thing is it's a, what do you call it, an open air thing, right? What do you call those things? You know, it's a dock house. It's a boat dock house. And by escaping as he does, he's able to avoid a big explosion because it all just catches fire after he's out of there. So that's a real sad situation. He's out the $25 that he bought for the lighter, and now he's out of boat factory or boat shop, whatever you call it. Now it's his boat shop. He's just a humble bookmaker at that. Oh my god. This is when the movie quote unquote heats up. The conspiracy or all the ideas of whether or not it was fake or real. You know, we all know now that it's real because the internet told us that he was part of the racketeering. So all of a sudden, she sees Vince Vaughn. You know, he's burned himself and he's taken on a fight and he's having to clean himself up in the bathroom. And there's not an explanation for why he's having to clear his arm up from what looks like a pretty vicious little arm burn. She got a nice looking rack there for sure, Terry Polo. The bottom half of her body is not exactly the most appealing. But hey, everyone's got their own taste. She's got a beautiful face, body pretty much with the topper half. And in Mystery Date, she looked like $1 million. Here she looks like, you know, years later, and she's playing a more matronly role. So she's figuring out ways to get away from Vince Vaughn here. She says, I'm going to be alone with my son. And all that. And she's pieced it together. Frank Morrison sent over the evidence. Rick Barnes was indicted for all this shit back in the day. His real name's Jack Parnell. Chicago Chamber of Commerce Award no more. And Vince Vaughn does not want Lynn to leave the house. Because if he does, they do, and it's over. They're going to do everything he can to keep them in the house. Live from the 410. They're like frightened of Vince Vaughn. She drops the phone on the ground. Tells her to get out of the car, so he kind of throws her around. I just think scene by scene, like I say, man, it's a very slow burn where it's culminating to this part where her new husband is now basically threatening to kill her. And he says, "You were the best thing that happened." So he shows his, she shows the door on his leg. She gets the son out, and now locks them behind them. They'll lock the doors and the windows as if he's a zombie, and they need to defend their house from intrusion. And lock the doors and windows. But hey, that's a big ass window you got there. I mean, it's just all window, so you can't lock that window. It's very easy to bust open. So anyway, you get Vince Vaughn just jumping right through the thing. Vince Vaughn throws her to the ground. That's the mother of his unborn child. And he's very angry right now. And Vince Vaughn busts into this kid's room. And this is like the scene in Mercury Rising where, to the naked eye, the kid's not in there. I love that scene in Mercury Rising, the kid's making that autistic noise. That. I like this scene. The kid throws him off really good. And then, boom! Back to the head. That was a pretty brutal hit. Boy swinging up through the fences. Up on the couch like a wiki bop bop. Almost to the end of the movie. Bop bop. Bop 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 bop. Curly bop 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 bop. Up on the couch like a winky bob boo. Up in a movie like a winky bob do. Winky bob wabba 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 boo. Curls up on the couch like a bubba wabba boo. Oh yeah, we're almost at the end of the commentary in the movie. It's been a fun movie. Really good experience doing this movie. One of my favorite movies, as I said. Domestic Disturbance. One of my favorite thrillers, I should say. So, always the big part of the movie is when you bash someone in the head, you should bash them again. Because the guy was bashed in the head, Vince Vaughn, with a bat, and he lived to tell about it, throws the son around, beats the son up a bit, and now we got a real situation. That's a kind of a weird scene where he's got the son, and he's going to bind him, but it almost looks like he's going to do something else. That's kind of a brutal scene. He's binding the son up here, though, tying him up. And you got Travolta to the rescue here. He runs in like a bull and just starts punking up on Vince Vaughn. He says, "Yeah, you're the bigger guy, but I got the leverage and I take you down." Punching him like a barroom brawl. And that was kind of a weird scene where he takes Matt O'Leary and is going to bind him, but obviously he's got this boy, like, some bent over the car. I wonder what I've heard the commentary, they don't mention how odd of a scene that is, but I'm saying that's a very odd scene, especially he's chasing the boy down, and then he's about to, bind him, but it looks like he's about to do something else. I like this scene a lot. You got Travolta just going all over Travolta just got knocked the fuck out with a bag of paint, with a can of paint. That would really hurt. Throws his dad's head through uh, a, a car. The boy just sits there not doing anything. I always thought that was really weird. Like, why don't they just team up at this point? They got Vince Vaughn at full strength now, whacking up on Travolta. So Travolta's going to, because the boy's bound up. That's right. But yeah, still, the boy can struggle. So he's gonna tackle him as he's doing that, and then he's gonna get electrocuted. Now, I kind of wish that all this happened in a little bit of a outdoor setting, I guess, like the next day maybe. But hey, it's effective. It's effective as fuck there. But how did Travolta's head go through a car window? I mean, I don't know if the man's ever gonna be the same. I don't know too many people's heads that go through any part of a car window, of any part, and that live to be the same. So I'm a little confused by that. Just a little bit. So I really hope you've enjoyed this commentary. I mean, Vince Vaughn's clearly electrocuted and dead there, but I always wondered, is he really? But yeah, luckily they cut the debate there about that. Now this part's a little bit odd. Obviously, Terry Polo was pregnant from this whole deal, and we learned very, very quickly. He says, "I'm sorry about the baby." So there was a pregnancy termination during all the physical throwing around by Terry Polo. So I guess that's all for the best, that her pregnancy was terminated through the violence that Vince Vaughn was doing, because he wouldn't have been a really good person to have the kid with. But still, I always think, hey, that's kind of fucked up. Like, a child was about to be brought into this earth, regardless of who the father was. She seemed to really want to have the baby. But the boy, he didn't want to have that younger kid. But I wonder if anyone has any real major remorse for that. But if they think about it objectively, they probably should. It's like, oh man, who cares about who the father was? You were about to have a kid, and then all of a sudden, due to the father being a total ass, throwing you around and stuff, that kid thing ain't gonna happen now. But anyway, that's the collateral damage of the movie. Travolta gets his head bashed through a window. Who knows how his boat proficiency making is going to go going forward. Terry Polo has a miscarriage through violence, and a boathouse is ruined, and I don't know about its insurance standing. Other than that, everything seems to be all hunky-dory in this movie. It rounded up into its conclusion, as you can see the credits here. And I really enjoyed doing this commentary with you all out there, as we see Angela Torn's name in the credits, all myriad of names that we went over earlier. I think it came in at a pretty good clip. It offered everything that we wanted from a thriller, and I'm happy to say that's another commentary done by the Barbecue Network. Looking forward to doing a little bit more of them, and hope everyone enjoyed, and I'll be posting again not too long from now. If anyone else has there any closing comments or anything about the broadcast today, or the commentary network, or the materials that you see presented here on the Barbecue Network, go ahead and write in the comments down below, and email the show however you'd like. But in the comments down below, you can ask, and I'll give you the information. The movie was all primarily filmed in Maryland. Thought it looked beautiful. I wish Harold Becker all the best. Kind of wish people like that could live for 200 years, because they clearly know how to make movies. All respect to all the technical people here in the credits, and the property masters. I think they did a pretty good job with all the different things in this film. But anyway, I had a wonderful time doing the commentary and discussing my movie news, and also
my opinions about the Halloween series, about 2018's in specifics, and stand by my assertion that I love Halloween 4 and 5. And I will sign back on probably not too long from now. Thank you so much for joining me on the Barbecue Network. Thank you for everyone that's emailed me more questions, and I'll be addressing more of them in the hours and days ahead. Thank you so much for joining me for Domestic Disturbance.